Good afternoon, everybody. This is Pimlico Racetrack in Baltimore, Maryland. We are 40 minutes away from post time for the running of the Preakness, the second and richest jewel in racing's Triple Crown. It's a beautiful day here in Baltimore right now. Sunny, about 70 degrees, and the track is fast. You're looking at the infield. A record crowd has come into this old racetrack today to see this running of the Preakness. And it has been a carnival atmosphere here with many different kinds of bands and music and games. It's noisy and fun and frolic time here. Beyond the grandstand, however, in the barn area, things are a bit more quiet. This is Secretariat, of course, the favorite in this race. As we look at him in his barn, he's getting ready now to make the walk across to the saddling area. One barn has housed all of the contenders in this Preakness, and although 6 of them are going to the gate today, most people here figured it's a match race between this horse, Secretariat, who had such a brilliant Derby, setting a new record for that classic race, and the second in the Derby, Sham, who, of course, in finishing second, also broke the old Derby tie. I'm Jack Whitaker, along with Haywood Hale Broon and Dick Anderson and Frank Wright. We welcome you to the 98th running of the Preakness. From the Pimlico Racecourse in Baltimore, Maryland, CBS Television Sports presents the 98th running of the Preakness, second jewel of the Triple Crown of racing.
On Preakness Day, when the black-eyed Susans are in a sort of bloom, there begin to arrive the constructors of what will be a small city. Looking like so many hermit crabs, the fans pour through the gates laden with everything needed to sustain life of a limited but lively sort. They're heading for the infield, and they are coming not so much to see a horse race as to be a part of the event, to cheer what they hope is happening on the outskirts of their pleasure town. In the event of change in the weather, there are a variety of shields against misfortune. Some almost fairly to be described by the old resort come-on of a home away from home. Some obviously intended to be no more than a rallying place, but all erected and occupied with the marvelous good nature which seems characteristic of the dotted sward of happenings from which one wishes to carry away memories and a ticket stub, as much as an idea or an accurate idea of what happened. Tomorrow there should remain enough crusts and smears to make all the ants for miles around as happy as ants are likely in their duty-driven way ever to be. Just watching the ingestion here is likely to give the more delicate feeder a certain sense of burn among the ribs. There are, of course, games out here which the knobs in the boxes miss. Games ranging from the organized aggressions of lacrosse to the swirling, sloppy, happy choreography of sort of touch, sort of tackle football. For the sedentary, there is the intellectual violence of card games. There is also the game that started all this commotion in the first place, and there are windows for those who are prepared to take the results largely on hearsay. Music is everywhere and of almost every kind, chamber groups being rare at racetracks, and the mellow boom of steel bands at one end of the infield is a kind of counterpoint to the pounding soul beat which entertains the fans at the other. Baltimoreans here took time off during the day to honor their departing quarterback, number 19, John Unitas, whose locker was part of the scene. Waiting overhead was the little man who wears the Preakness winner's colors, and painter Tommy Ennis, who had blue and white paint in his pocket last year for Riva Ridge, has brought the same tubes again in expectation of Secretariat. A wise man, he also has the rest of his palette handy.
Thank you, Woody, and you're looking at the Fort Hunt Senior High School Band from Alexandria, Virginia, the winner of the Preakness Festival Parade, still another musical group gathered here on Preakness Day at Pimlico. The countdown has begun to post time. We have about 32 seconds now until the big event, and we look now at the barn where all of the contenders are kept. Peaceful here. They'll be beginning will be beginning to move out of here in just a few moments to make the short walk here at Pimlico into the saddling area. We saddle outside today in the turf course, so we'll all get a good view at the horses and their connections. Here's Chick Anderson now with the rundown of the field.
Well, here's the field for the very important Preakness Stakes today, the second jewel in the Triple Crown. And we have 6 contestants, a good, solid, but small field. Starting with the top horse, number 1 is Sham. And you know that combination from the Derby. Sham will be ridden again today by Lafitte Pincay Jr. And if you're looking for silks on your screen today, look for green and gold. Those are the colors that Sham will be wearing. Following Sham is a horse that's definitely an outsider in this race, Deadly Dream. And Deadly Dream is one of those horses that is not expected to perform too well today, although they have high hopes. Deadly Dream will be wearing primarily black, but look for red and white on the sleeves. Then, the very familiar silks of Secretariat. Secretariat, the dream horse, the $6 million syndication, winner of the Kentucky Derby, and one that most expect to be our next Triple Crown winner. The very familiar blue and white blocks of Meadow Stable for Secretariat, and once again, Ron Turcotte is up. Following Secretariat, we have Our Native. Our Native was 3rd in the Kentucky Derby, and a very strong 3rd, but not a menace to the top 2, Sham and Secretariat. Our Native is primarily black silks. Then following Our Native is Torsion. Torsion is an entry from New York. Torsion, another one of the outsiders, definitely an outsider in the race. And Torsion will be a combination that you'll see on your screen, primarily dark blue. And then the final horse in the field is École Etage. École Etage is a very quick horse, is expected to take the lead in the Preakness today. How far he'll go is, of course, some question. But on your screen, you'll be looking primarily at very light blue with black cross sashes. Well, that's our field in the Preakness today, and we're getting close to post time now.
Well, Frank, as we take a look at the Derby from 2 weeks ago, I think 2 things are apparent here. First, that Sham may have had some real excuses, and secondly, that Secretariat ran a brilliant race. And I think it all began right before the race when one of those strange things that sometimes happens in horse racing occurred.
Jack, it's a terrifying thing to horse rider, assistant starter, and all connections when this occurs. There you see the rider, Santiago, being extricated by an assistant starter, and 1,000 pounds of Twice a Prince reared up with his feet over the stall guard. They're trying to get him so he doesn't fall over backwards and break his back, but in so doing, he takes his front legs and whacks Our Native across the saddle area and the back. Broomfield has had to dismount to quickly save injury to himself. Now the problem, Jack, and they accomplished it, is to open the back gate and get him out without that complete flip over that I mentioned to you, without control. Sham, during this period, remained relatively quiet, Jack, and so did all the horses along the inside, because they know a disturbance is going on. Here is Our Native now, had to be led out the front with Brumfield dismounted. Meanwhile, in the back of the gate, Jack, they will now jog Twice a Prince for the veterinarian, Dr. Larry Scanlon, to okay his continuance in this race. In a moment, the rider, Santiago, will be put on, and he also gets a feeling if there's any unsoundness, he will report it to Dr. Scanlon, and they'll either re-examine or scratch. In this instance, he was deemed sound enough to continue in the race. There's Santiago readjusting his equipment.
Here is the start from head on. That is Sham circled, and watch him get bumped now by the horse to his right, Navajo, and again. He had, at this time already, he had those 2 teeth loosened, so he was in pretty bad shape at that point. Here from another angle, the start. And here you will see how Secretariat got away. He is 1A and looks to be dead last at this point.
It was a slow start, Jack. The chart called it 11th, but he was last before they'd gone a few feet.
But now watch the move he puts on. That's Secretariat on the outside and running 3rd. Shecky Green on the rail, number 2, and Sham at this point leading. But watch Secretariat fly.
He comes around the turn on his right lead, Jack, and under the right-hand whipping of Turcotte, he starts in towards his foe. Sham, meantime, under left-hand hitting, is coming out, and you see 2 great human athletes here adjust to avoid collision. Turcotte's stick now in his left hand, and he gets away from Sham.
And now Secretariat makes it all the way as Turcotte looks back and goes on to set a new Kentucky Derby record. Sham, in finishing 2nd, also broke the old Derby record time. Well, that was 2 weeks ago, and as we said earlier, it's come down here today. Most people believing that it's going to be a sham and Secretariat duel once again. Right now, the betting public here have made Secretariat the #1 favorite, sham second, and École Taj will be the third favorite at this moment. We're just about 30 minutes away from post time at this moment.